Hi everyone, welcome to the Laser Channel. My name is Greg and this video is going to be part 2 on the Wizmaker L1 laser machine featuring the 36 watt laser module. In the first video on the Wizmaker laser machine, I demonstrated how quick and easy it is to assemble the machine and then connect the machine up to Lightburn software. This video is going to be all about running the machine. Welcome back. Before I jump into the materials that I'll be working with today, I want to let you know that this is a sponsored video. With that out of the way, what I'm going to be running on the machine is a variety of different types of material and different thicknesses. Let's take a quick look at those. The first material is going to be the solid pine board, and this is thicker than most pine board that you can find in the construction stores. This is nearly 1 inch thick, and I want to check out to see how deep I can engrave in this and also if I can cut all the way through. I also have another solid 3/4 inch pine board. This is going to be the common pine board that you find at nearly any general construction store. So once again, I'm going to see how deep I can get a nice consistent engraving into this material, and then I want to see what it takes to cut all the way through this. Next, I've got this 1/8 inch black acrylic. I'm going to do some engraving on it and then I'm going to cut the shape out, so it'll be very interesting to see how well a powerful 36 watt laser module cuts through this acrylic. To use the best practices when cutting through materials, I've supplied my own airline tubing to utilize the included air assist nozzle on the Wizmaker machine. This airline tubing is going to be connected up to this third-party powerful air pump. This flows about 60 liters per minute. I prefer to use the Wizmaker one, but currently that's only available with combo units of the machine. Hopefully by the time that you watch this video, you can purchase that separately. Now I've got the air assist kit covered. What I have down on my work table is a piece of honeycomb, very similar to this one. Wizmaker has their own brand, which I'd actually prefer to use, but this is what I have on hand and it'll work okay. With all of that covered, let's get to cutting some materials, starting with this super thick material. 1 inch pine board, properly focused with the gauge that's included with the Wizmaker. I drew a simple 1 inch circle. I'm going to do 10 passes at 100% power. This thick block of wood, I've used this with other high-powered laser diodes and none of them have been able to cut all the way through. And the Wizmaker, while it did cut through many spots, I can't push the slug all the way out, but let's take a close-up look at what a good job it did of getting almost all the way through. Here's the front side of that. But what we're really concerned about is the back side, and you can see that we are coming through in several different spots, but mainly in the areas where we've got this wood grain here, it has a hard time getting through. But overall, pretty impressive for going through nearly a 1 inch thick piece of solid pine. Now I'm not done with this thick piece of pine with this challenging wood grain. I want to tone down the settings and switch from cutting to engraving, and I want to see if I can get down at least 1/8 of an inch with a nice clean engraving. My settings for this deep engraving are, I changed the circle size from 1 inch down to 3/4 of an inch just to keep the video length here shortened down quite a bit. I also changed the speed to 50 millimeters per second while keeping the power level at 100%. I'm going to do 4 passes because I want to make sure that this is a really deep engraving. I turned crosshatch on. My lines per inch is set at 300, and that should cover everything, and I'm ready to start. So I originally intended to make 4 passes at this high power at a relatively low speed. However, while I had the safety glasses on, I could see through the tinted yellow safety lens on the front of the laser module that even after 1 pass on just the crosshatch pattern, I was already digging upwards of 1/4 of an inch into this solid pine. I allowed it to finish all the way through on the cross pattern in one direction and then the other, and then I stopped it. And you won't believe in just 1 pass how deep this engraving really went. Let's take a closer look. Here's a close-up look, and in fact right here you can see a little bump out of following this wood grain. That is perfectly normal, but let me put a gauge on this and check just how deep that went down. And that is just over 0.4 inches deep at the deepest part, and where that wood grain went through, we'll check that. And that's going 0.2 inches. So on this tricky piece of pine board with that wood grain, I went from 0.2 all the way down to 0.4 inches in just 1 pass. Pretty amazing results on this 1-inch thick piece of pine board. Let's check out some other materials. This is the 3/4 inch of solid pine. I'm going to cut out an octagon out of this with a speed of 8 millimeters per second at 100% power. I'm going to use 10 passes, but I think this powerful 36-watt laser module will be able to do it in less. I think this definitely cut all the way through. I think when I was about 5 or 6 passes in, I stopped seeing smoke from the cutting process. And I lift this out and I check out the back side, and definitely I can pop out this multi-sided slug with ease. This definitely had no problems cutting all the way through this common 3/4 inch pine board. Next, I'm going to try and engrave something about 1/4 inch deep into this. When I take a look at the end grain here, the grain is very tight and very uniform, so I should have a very consistent deep engraving. For this engraving test, I kept the shape the same. I just made it a little bit smaller to reduce the engraving time. I have the speed set at 50 millimeters per second at 100% power. Lines per inch set at 300, and I do have a crosshatch pattern, and I'm only going to do 1 pass. All complete. Let's check out how deep this engraving went. I was shooting for 1/4 inch and I think I overdid it. Let's take, of course, a closer look. Check out how clean and deep this went. That is definitely over 1/4 inch thick, and the bottom of this engraving is nice and smooth and consistent, and a lot of that has to do with the smooth, consistent grain that we'll see here on the end of the board. Here I'll measure the depth of how far that engraving went. And I have a measurement of 0.35 inches. So I was shooting for 1/4 inch and I went 0.1 inches too far. So far, I've been underestimating the capabilities of the Wizmaker and the 36-watt laser module. It very easily cut very cleanly through this 3/4 inch pine board, and it didn't take the full 10 passes. I think it could have done it in maybe about 5 or 6 passes. When I did this engraving shooting for 1/4 inch deep, I actually went 0.35 inches deep, so even deeper than I originally intended. So overall, pretty impressive. Here I've got some black acrylic. This is 1/8 of an inch thick. Inside the Lightburn software, I have a graphic loaded in that I'm going to be doing. The first layer is an engraving, and then the second layer I'm going to be cutting the outline shape. During this demonstration, I am cutting acrylic, and when I place the acrylic in my work area, rather than place it directly on the honeycomb, I use one of my old T-pins on its side as a spacer. This provides an air gap between the honeycomb and the acrylic. That way I don't get any flashback or burning on the bottom side of that acrylic. That second pass did the trick. It was pretty neat to watch that piece of acrylic just drop away. And here I've got the completed piece. Here's the completed piece. Check out all the nice detail on all of this engraving. Don't check this out where I accidentally nudged the workpiece while the project was running. Nice clean cutout all the way around. And again, I'll have that perfect outline on the top half here. On the bottom half, it's off because of the bump that I had on the material. This is absolutely some beautiful detail on the engraving with this black 1/8" acrylic. The power of the Wizmaker L1 featuring a 36-watt laser module is truly amazing. Throughout all these demonstration pieces, I kept finding myself underestimating just how much power comes out of this laser module. Most of the time I could have done with much faster speeds or way lower power levels. The engraving that I did on this 1-inch thick piece of pine board, just one pass into it, I got nearly a 1/2 inch deep of engraving into this wood. When I switched over to the 3/4 inch pine board found at most common construction stores, I did this octagon cutout and it just falls right out. I did that same engraving test shooting for 0.25 inches and ended up with 0.35. Once again, underestimating just how much power this laser unit can produce. When I moved on to doing acrylic, it did a phenomenal job of recreating all the finite detail that I'd expect to find on a precision, quality built machine. It definitely had no problems cutting through this acrylic in just 2 passes. I had a great time testing out just some of the capabilities of this Wizmaker laser machine. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, or ringing that notification bell. Doing any number of those things really helps the channel out, and it's an awesome way to connect content like this with great viewers like you. If you'd like to see more content like this, let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, learn, create, and share.